welcome back. We'll just wait a little bit to make sure that everybody's with us because I think I'm a minute or two early. Hopefully everybody can see what's going on. Don't know about you, but it's very windy here today, so I apologise if you can hear any wind outside. I live in the middle of nowhere, so that's all you can hear all the time. Anyway, so if I just start off today by introducing what we're going to do. So today's workshop's all about trying to create something three-dimensional out of something two-dimensional. So we'll be making things which are very similar to these particular pieces at the front here. I don't know if you can see them very well because there's stuff behind them. Let me just put something behind them. So this one is just out of paper, so it's up to you if you want to actually add patterns on or just use coloured card if you like. This one I've added pattern on like we did last week. So, in last week, oh sorry, I keep on saying last week, it was a few weeks ago now. Time has flown by. And so this was the drawing which we created last time. It's all about thinking about mindfulness drawing techniques, ways we can try and express feelings that may be negative, and then bringing in the positive ones, or even bringing those positive ones in further than normal. So, I would like to start off today's session. I'll move these out of the way now, but this is the kind of thing that we'll be making with lots of different patterns. I'll move those out of the way. And if you want to, you can just focus on the shapes. Right. I think the main things you will need today, something to make a mark, so pens, paper, paintbrushes, colouring crayons, ink, whatever works for you. And I'm going to use a piece which I made before which didn't work out. So this particular one, I've managed to smudge it, so usually this would go in the bin. But I've never used a from the direct drawing, so I thought this might be a fun way of incorporating both of these activities together. Oh, I've got a few people with us. How are we all doing today? Right, so I'm just going to cut out some of these shapes. You can use scissors, craft knife, whatever is easier for you, just be careful obviously. So just cutting out of drawings that I've made before. I'll just show you a few techniques on how we can make these marks, just because a few of you might not have an old piece of work to work from. Never have a table big enough when it comes to making artwork. This is my old dining room table and it's covered with stuff at the moment. So you can either fill a piece of paper with lots of pattern, or you can make a shape and then fill the shape with a pattern. So like last time, we created shapes that are representing feelings that you're feeling at the moment. So are these happy feelings, so something circular and joyful, more like this particular one? Or are you feeling a bit structured, like this one over here, with the more structured edges? Feeling angry? Just really try and think about these feelings you're feeling at the moment and draw a shape which represents that. Again, as like last time, a bit nervous. It's always a weird thing talking to a camera, hoping that there's some people listening. Looks like there's a few of you. So I think I'm going to do more of an organic shaped one today because I think it's a quite positive day and the weather's lovely outside. So I'm going to draw just a simple shape and then we'll begin to fill it in like we did before. I do want to introduce a few new techniques, something which I've been trying out at the moment in my own art practice. I've been using different stencils. So I've made little stencils, which these ones are tiny because the work I've been making is quite small compared to normal. And then using these to confine the marks you make. So, so we've got the shape and we'll make a little stencil now, but we can build up within. So I'm just going to cut a little bit of paper out. here I'm just using cartridge paper. I'm not using card as such. It's quite thick. You could use cardboard, you could use cereal boxes if you want. If you're more worried about the shape, probably a good idea. Just saves money and things. So here's my shape. I'm going to think about what kind of shape would I like to fill. Trying to respond to how you're feeling at the moment. So I have a pencil. Well, I did have a pencil. Oh, here you go. Trusty IKEA one. Right, so I'm going to draw, trying to think about bringing positive emotions in again. I'm going to draw a couple of squiggles. I think pattern works quite well within these shapes. So I'm going to draw a couple of these squiggles and cut them out. Concentration time now. So we'll spend the first part of this trying to figure out these different shapes, and then I'll show you how we can combine them together to make three-dimensional objects. There we go. All shaky. I don't know why. Oh, aren't nerves a funny thing? We all have them. And the idea of this workshop is so that we can make something and just try and embrace these feelings you're having. I think the further we go on, the shapes will change. I think I might just cut out one and then it'll be more of a repetitive pattern. So you end up with like a stencil kind of shape like this. So how are we going to combine these two things together? So I've got the shape, how I'm feeling at the moment, shape how I want to feel, something a bit jolly. And I'm going to just lay that one over the top. Doesn't matter if it goes over the edges, that might be quite fun actually. Let's start with just black, as some of you may know from the last session. Seems to be my favourite colour. And by confining yourself to these shapes, really get some interesting effects. You can overlap them onto each other. Oh, this pen's running out a little bit. I do love these Posca pens, they're really, really good. But I love them a bit too much and then I end up using them too much. So I'm going to just change a different thickness of pen. I think this is Bivo as well. I've done a series of drawings recently where I've used Bivo. Make slow marks, quick marks, however they might work. Just using the stencil. This one looks a bit busy and not quite what I was going for, but I'll work with it. So that's one way of making marks that you could do. Another way, so again I'm going to draw some blobs. So I think that kind of represents a bit of all over the place at the moment. I'm going to use a black pen again. Don't know whether this pen will go through the paper. No, that's one thing, because of the three-dimensional shapes you need to cover both sides of the image because you'll be seeing them from both sides. And I've found that working on one side with like a strong straight line and then the other side with something a bit more flowy can work really well. It's something that you'll learn as you're making really. So this one, I'm going to follow the shape of the image that I've just drawn. Just echo that. I think that taking your time making marks, like explained last time, really important. I think that other one wasn't quite as successful because it's just too quick. It's this taking your time and really taking some time for yourself. And here I'm starting to build up shapes within the shape. Quite fun really. Doesn't have to be a repetitive pattern, you've just got to react on your instincts. And really try and not care for once. Don't be all precise, it's all about loosening up, so that's a different way of making lines. You could introduce colour if you like, so thinking about the colour to bring this positive energy in, or to get rid of the negative feelings you might be feeling. So just so we can move on, so I can show you how we can make something a bit 3D. So how to make your patterns, really thinking about your emotions, how the lines represent emotions, the way you make the lines and how long you spend making the lines. It's quite an interesting way to start. So I've cut this out. I'm going to cut a few more out of this drawing, which it didn't work. You always need to start the base of these three-dimensional drawings with something with a flat edge, because that will sit flat on the table. The thing is making these workshops responding to how you're feeling, they're always going to end up different every single time. What's quite nice about going from a drawing like this is that you can have several patterns within one shape. So this is going to be one of my base layers. So as it's got a flat bottom, I'm going to, if any of you are making at home, try and make a drawing which has a flat bottom rather than something that's squiggly. Or if you've done the shape like this, you could cut off the bottom to make it flat. You just need to try and make as many different pattern shapes as possible at the moment, and then we'll bring them all together. Which bit? I'm going to have to decorate the other side of these patterns. Use scissors again, that's absolutely fine. Just find it a little bit easier with a craft knife to get into different areas of the drawing. I feel like the house is going to blow away at the moment with the amount of wind outside. Right. Hopefully it'll cheer up a little bit for the bank holiday weekend. Hopefully you're all doing something nice. I say something nice, but we've got a little bit more freedom at the moment, haven't we? At least you can do more exercise. You can go out for a nice walk. So for the flat edge, you can be very precise, use a ruler. It does make it a little bit easier. And I found that having a few pieces with a flat bottom and getting a real stable bottom of your sculpture we're going to be making will work well. So these are the two pieces I've cut out so far. I wonder if any of you are using a drawing you did last time. Thank you everybody who shared their drawings with me. It was really lovely to see how you'd all been using it differently. So I'm just going to go round here. Not even following the line sometimes, I'm just creating different shapes. Again, I'll go back to just drawing my own things. So, like I said before, there's several ways of approaching this. One from an old drawing which hasn't worked out, so you could cut different parts out of the drawing. Two, you can create different shapes on a piece of paper and then cut them out. Or, you can cut a shape out and then decorate within that shape. So again, I love these loops, so we're going to do some loops on this one. Right, so now that one's covered both sides. Or you could get your piece of paper and then draw a pattern trying to express these positive feelings again. One of my favourite ones to do is dots, but I found this within my stash of art supplies. Something I bought, I don't know, maybe in my foundation year at uni. I haven't used it very much, but I've somehow managed to snap it. But what I'm going to do is try and use this as a stencil. You can use different things around the house as a stencil, really. The inside of a sellotape or anything like that, that could be interesting. So I'm going to use the dots to try and create my pattern, bringing these positive energy in again. I think I want a finer pen, so I'm going to choose a fine liner for this one. I'm going to draw dots within the dot. Just see what happens. So by creating a pattern first, then we can think about the shape afterwards. Whatever pattern you like, really thinking and taking your time, I think, is the main thing within all of these drawing activities. Looks a little bit like foxboard, really, a bit weird. God, 15 minutes has flown by. We haven't even got a structure yet, so I best hurry up and just want to make sure that you know the different skills you need for the drawing side of things. But I do think that you can always go back to the last workshop, which is on, I think it's on Josie's LU Arts page. Sorry about that. And we can all, so you can catch up a little bit on how to introduce different colours and things. Just really enjoying using, thinking about line, shape, these circles, something about the circular shape, which really does bring joy. Show you. So here, I'll start building up a pattern here. See you in that one? It's quite interesting. It's hard to get the right balance of what you can see and what I can see, and obviously it's right to see me as well, so you can see what to do. I'm going to do some different sizes of those circles, so you can create the stencils like I showed you earlier, just by cutting out a bit of paper, and then the confines of that stencil help make shapes within the shapes. Starting to enjoy this now. Get past the nerves and enjoy the calm, peaceful. I can hear a lot of wind, but there's a lot of birds outside as well, which is lovely. Just give you a bit of time to reflect as well. I think it's always really important to bring in a bit of gratitude and appreciation for things around you. I do quite like this technique, especially with the different size circles. I think it's working quite well. Just fill this one in. I'm trying to do it quite quickly so you can see what I'm doing, and so it doesn't get boring for you. But it's important to show you how to do it and the other side of things as well. So hopefully. So again, another way of doing it. So I've created my pattern with this pattern here. This one. Can you see? Yeah. With this pattern, I can then think about the shape and cut out of the pattern the shape, similar to how you cut out of a drawing. So I'm going to again do something quite flowy to this one. It's quite nice just drawing with the knife rather than being worried about the shape too much with a pen. I think scissors as well, you can do it with scissors. Right. So then once you've got your little squiggle, you can really think about, do I need something a little bit more obvious? Quite an interesting shape I've made there. Right, so back again, so we've got the straight bottom, so you need, I'd say probably four straight bottoms. So I'll cut a few more out of those. The more you've got, the more stable it's going to be. That's the main thing. So I'll just cut out of this so I can quickly try and make something. No, there's not much time. need to snap off the blade on my craft knife. So another flat bottom. It's important with this one, like I said, to decorate both sides. So I'll just show you some different techniques again. Decorating the other side of these shapes, so we can start building the base. Right, something I was enjoying last time. Oh, this might sound a bit too wet. No, it's just fine. So this one is like a chisel end to the pen, and it created these kind of marks, which I think work really well. And the way that you have to apply them onto the paper, you have to be quite slow. I think this, again, slowing down is important. We've all got a bit more time on our hands at the moment. With this particular pen, you do have to be careful though, because it does get quite wet, so you need to make sure you let it dry. But I think you can get like whiteboard pens and stuff like this with these chiseled ends, which are obviously a lot more affordable than plastic pens. And sometimes the way it's stamped isn't quite perfect, and I quite like that. Just shows a bit of the process within the piece as well. Right. I'm going to. Ooh. Is there black in here? I don't think I've got any black ink. Is that black? I think it might be. I want to just focus on the lines today, I think, rather than the colours and things. I think sometimes too much going on can get us all a bit distracted. It's one of my another stamping motion which I like doing is with a cotton bud. Grab a cotton bud and then push it down and just use ink. You could use paint, whatever kind of, it's a bit liquidy I think you need really. And just stamp it down on the paper. Really taking your time with each stamp you make. I'll do a few quick ones in a minute so you can see how we put these together. I remember having there's a particular game, I can't remember what it was called when I was younger, and there were these plastic shapes and they all slot together. What's it called? It's a bit like spirograph, but it wasn't for drawing. I'd quite like one of those at the moment. I think that'd be quite fun. I used to really enjoy it. I'm just echoing the pattern and the shape on to the piece of paper. So in this one, you can see it's going round. I think that works quite well. So the idea behind this particular workshop is all about acceptance, and within therapy and things, and within psychology, they say that if you can, well, from my interpretation, probably if any psychologists are watching this right now, they'll probably say it's completely wrong, but from my interpretation and how I've applied it to my own art practice is there's a tool called the acceptance tool, and if you try and physicalise your feelings that you're feeling at the moment into a shape. This is normally done in the mind, so you try and think about how that shaky hand would be shown as a shape. Would it be like a fuzzy ball? How would that be shown in shape? And then by separating it from yourself, you can then accept it and really try and make it smaller, and really, rather than overloading your space, it then becomes manageable. And just do another back of one of these just so you can see how to use ink. Or we could do, actually, haven't got a stick today. I know a couple of people enjoyed using a stick last time, but you can use the end of your paintbrush, dip it in something, acts like a stick, same kind of thing. Quite like the way it runs out halfway through, it's quite nice. like I'm writing any quite joyful, happy shapes. Right. So that's that one. I think to have a contrast between delicate marks and then strong marks is really important within these three-dimensional forms. So you can even colour in the entire thing, do some stripes. I'm going to ruin my cutting mat. I'm very good at that. So go over the top of a piece of paper rather than ruining the cutting mat. It's already got lots of marks on. I'm not worried too much about making them too straight. Fill them off at the end. Just so there's a different amount of depth within each one. That one's being done both sides. Oh, I've smudged it. Doesn't matter. That one. Right. Do some more in a different way. Quite nice. That'll have to wait to dry. I'm going to do some more with some dry things. Where's that gone? Here, right in front of my nose. Show you how to use some oil pastels as well for making marks. Obviously black. I think. So with oil pastels, if you colour over a surface, really filling in that surface. Got some good stuff underneath this one. And if you take another piece of paper, put that over the top, use something quite sharp like a fine liner, and then you can draw over the top. It should pick up like a monoprint at home, really. Should pick up. Yes, it has. Sometimes I worry showing me different things. Oh, hello, that looked really effective. Oh, thank you. What is the thick pen you were using? These ones are Posca pens. Posca pens. So they come in all different shapes, sizes and things, and you can get them in so many colours, and you can use them on pretty much anything. I think a lot of pubs and things use them on their whiteboards, you know, like chalk pens. I did used to have quite a lot of white ones. I don't have any white ones at the moment. So this one, that's 0.9 to 1.3 mil. So obviously they do go a little bit blunt after a bit of time. When you get them at first, they've got quite a round bullet shape top. This one has always been the same. It's just like a fat chisel pen. Got another one here. 1.8 to 2.5. Again, you can see well used. But pretty much there's painted within this part. You then push the pen down onto the paper, if you can see, like that. And then it'll bring the paint down. So at first when you buy them, there's like a white tip. It comes down to the bottom and then it's easy to use. Glad you like the cotton bud. Hopefully you'll like this one as well. So I've put the oil pastel on, and then you can see if it's created a monoprint from it. So there's two different kinds of drawing techniques in this particular one. So if I show you, obviously it doesn't matter, we can cut them into shapes. So I don't know if it'll pick up on camera very well, but because I've taken the oil pastel, then I've done the monoprint over the top, this has now got less oil pastel in different areas. So it's got a subtle little line. You can build up on that line even more using something sharpish and carve into the oil pastel. It's something I do really enjoy doing. So I'm just using the end of a paintbrush. Want some of these to dry a little bit. So you see how that's worked? I don't know if it'll pick up. I have got a light here. Can you see that? Yeah? There you go. See it a little bit there. That's just carving into oil pastel. It can be quite effective. And there's just something quite nice about oil pastels. I like this smudgy feeling. Right, got some double-sided ones. When I'm doing it by myself, I normally take a lot of care trying not to get them to touch each other and get all wet, but I think that these are now dry. And I'll show you how we can stack these together. So, the idea is they'll slot together like so. Yeah, that's got two sides. Slot together, and then it'll create a base. So when we're trying to create the base, trying to react to the shapes really. Oh, thank you. Right, so try and think about which shapes work well together. I don't think that this triangle works particularly well with these different shapes, so I think that I'm going to cut into that. Where have my scissors gone? Not very organised today for some reason. Everything seems to be going everywhere. Ah, there you go, gone. That's what happens when you have everything out. So I'm just going to round this one off a little bit and see whether that helps. Just don't be precious. I think these two will work well together. So I'm going to cut a slit into this, and then on the other one I'm going to cut a slit into the bottom. So the idea is they'll slot into each other. You know, like you get Christmas trees. That's the thing I remember. It's like making Christmas trees at school. We used to get two pieces of cardboard, slot them together. Ta-da! Don't know if anybody else did that. Right, so either use a craft knife or you can use scissors. Obviously be careful. Depending on the thickness of your card is how thick you need to make the line. So with something like cartridge paper, I just draw a slit. I don't particularly worry about making it thick. So I'm just going to draw, where do I want them to cross over? I think probably in that bump there. I'm going to draw a slit. Then measure them up against each other. So it's probably going to, so I've drawn a slit on this one, halfway up. So on this one, I'm going to draw it halfway down. So then they'll go together, slit together really well. So halfway down, try and keep the same angle. The angle which you do really does help. So I've got the slits on this. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this now works. Always doing things under pressure. Right. Nearly there. As you can see on this one, I haven't quite done the slit quite far enough. So I'm just going to cut it a little bit more. Really just have a play. That's the main thing. Just try and have a bit of fun. Right. There you go. So the idea of this one now is you've got a solid base. So it'll sit, no problem, very sturdy. So I do suggest that we expand this base. So I'm going to do the same again here for this one. Then it's easier to use scissors. Right. Scissors. Cut that down. It's going to need to go quite far up, that one. Perpendicular to the bottom. There we go. See? Starting to build some kind of structure. Again, for some reason I feel like I have to go big when I do these. Just so that I can show you, so you can see what I'm doing, but we'll see. But smaller scale things work really well, as you can see from the examples I showed you before. So, again, see? Starting to make something here. Right, now when you're trying to make a structure, it's really important to try and balance it. So if I was to put all of the card on this side, all of a sudden, you'd find it doing this. So I'm going to try and make some more shapes, cut out ones I've already got, and see what happens really. With these ones, obviously you don't need them to have a solid bottom, but this solid base will really help. And like with this one that I made before, it can be quite fun to have these squiggly little ones coming off it. I think that really adds something to the actual overall piece. But it's not about what it looks like, it's all about the actual enjoying making. as I always say. I'm just gonna. When I'm doing, I'm really trying to. Oh, there goes a pen on the floor. Really trying to just react. I think try not to draw too much out. I think if you really like that way of doing it, that's absolutely fine. But I think just reacting to your scissors or craft knife, however you want to cut out, can really work. You get some really fun shapes. Just going to do the back of this one because it'll need something on it. Whew, who knew that it was so easy to talk to yourself? I know that you can do it with the cotton bud, but it's something quite nice of just using them. This one's just a permanent marker pen, one of those. The noise and everything about making marks is just quite exciting. I don't know if that's just me, and it's one of those things that I know a lot of people would probably laugh at. My dad would be like, Grace, the sound of a pen, seriously. I hope you can hear it. Come a bit closer. Haven't got anything protecting the table there, so I should probably come back. Right. Again, you can introduce colour. Last time I looked at colour more, and I just think that trying to do colour, 3D and showing you marks within one session is quite difficult. It's only an hour. We've already been going 35 minutes. Hopefully you've all been able to keep up. I'm just not sure where you're all at, so it's hard to no, if anybody's got any questions, please ask. Right, so I've got one of these. Now we can start building on top of this shape. So again, the angles do matter. If you want to do something like this, that's absolutely fine. You can, but I think to get the strong shape at first, try and keep them either horizontal, or vertical. I always get those two muddled around. Try not to be precious about it. There we go. And as you can see now, you'll realise what works well together. So that quite full area against the quite dotted area works well. I think we need some more full areas. So I'm going to do the other side of this. Should have done the other side first because of obviously this one's got the carving into it, but we'll see. I'll press quite lightly. You never know, could get another monoprint off it. What shape should I think I might just do a just want you to come away from this realising just make some marks and you can really make some interesting things. Oh wow, so I'm quite impressed with this, never done that before. All about experimenting, and through experimenting you really get to let me show you my new thing. So, coloured in with oil pastel, and then I put this one over the top, jewel on the back like I showed you earlier, yeah? Then it made, I'll try and show you that again, this carving effect into the oil pastel on that one. Then, where did it go? I've just drawn on the back of this one, just so that it's coloured on both sides, and then I got this. Can you see that? Which is quite interesting. Right, who knows what's going to go on the other side of that one? I'm enjoying myself here. I'm going to get carried away if I'm not careful. Right, I'll cut some more shapes out of this darker one. The first piece, two pieces of the base need to close shape and size. Stay there. Mine is not standing. Yes, they do need to be quite close together. See how? And try and make a 90. See here, if you look down, I've got almost a box created in the middle. Try and see if you can make a box. Doesn't matter how many slits you put in it, try not to be too worried about that. In this one I've got more slits than needed and it works. So yeah, flat bottoms, make sure they're lining up at the bottom, and then try and make some kind of box out of the shapes. If it's not standing, let me know again. It is nice when people are interacting. I'm glad you're doing it at the same time, that's really nice. How many people are connecting together at the moment is just incredible. In any other normal circumstance, we probably wouldn't have ever even spoken, which is crazy. Right, so I'm just trying to see how these patterns work together. So on this side, see, there's quite a lot of white space. So I'm going to make, so that, I'm going to do it like that, I think. See, adding more bits. Is it standing yet? It's not standing, let me know, and then I'll see what I can do to help. Right, so this one's got the monoprint on one side and then the pen on the other. I'm going to do some longer shapes, I think, out of these, like I did in the stencil earlier. Please be careful with your fingers. I'm terrible at just getting carried away. Right, I think those will work quite well together. So this one, it's got the same pattern, so I think the same pattern could clash quite well. So I think we'll have a little standy up bit. Snip, snip, and go together. I think the bigger the base as well, that can help with the stability. So if you need bigger pieces, because with this one, it did take a while to make it stand because they're so little and intricate. So if you're struggling with that, maybe try and make some bigger pieces. Right, I'm going to try and build off on this side now. Get some pieces quickly. Need some kind of big shape there. Decorate the other side. And this one. What should I do? I think I'm going to go back to the stamping. I did enjoy that. It's one of my favourite things. The swirliness and this stamping. Just a cotton bud. That's all it is. My dad might go mad because we get through a lot of cotton buds just for art reasons, but it's quite fun. I don't know if any of you, I don't think you can see, I've got a toothbrush over here, I could use that in a minute to see what marks we can get. Obviously that's not what I used to brush my teeth, that's an old one. See what effects we can get, I think quite fun. I think with mark making as well, it's really important just to enjoy what we're doing rather than getting all precious. Really thinking about the feelings, and the marks you're making will really help. Hopefully, when you're making this, you'll genuinely see an improvement in how you're feeling if you're having a bit of a down day. I'm going to do that. I'm enjoying so much the process. I'm learning something nice and new. Very exciting. Oh, thank you. That's so nice. Please share it so I can see what you've done. It doesn't matter if you haven't finished. So later on, after I save this live, please share what you've done. It'd be really nice to see. It's standing now then. going to cut out of this. Try and get something smaller. All of mine look like jelly beans. Maybe that's telling me something. I need to go and buy some jelly beans. When I was younger, we used to go to a department store called Beatties in Wolverhampton. It's not there anymore. It's a bit like Debenhams kind of thing. We used to have this whole area which was full of jelly beans, and my friend loved them, but she used to eat the cinnamon ones, and that's not for me. I'm more of a bubblegum jelly belly bean fan. That's exactly what you want to hear at the moment, me talking about jelly belly beans. Here's mine. So I've done the one side, I'm going to do the other side now. Another pattern, I'm just going to take a bit off this one, I quite like, is this dotted pattern. That's quite effective. I'm just going to do that on the other side of this. Just try and do quick things, but please, when you're doing this, take your time. I just want to make sure that you get an understanding of how to put it together. Shame we can't join lives on Facebook, isn't it, really? So you can see what people are doing. Oh, I nearly picked that up and threw it across the room. Getting carried away, Grace. Right, so this side, I think that will go well. Like that. So again, snip, snip. The hardest bit is the base. After you get past the base, it's relatively simple. I'm going to do something which comes forward now, I think. Right, let's have a go. Is anybody using colour in theirs? I think that could be really interesting. Might try and make a colourful one. I just think, like I said, even back at GCSE and stuff, they always go, try and focus on one thing, and within this it's more about shape than line. I think that might be too big. Could go off here. It's a bit of the same pattern though. We'll see. Need 2 loops. Try and show you another stencil way of making marks in a minute. Right. I think that can go on this bit here. That way, I think. Snip on both, and then obviously it will join up the amount you've snipped. So if you want to have a good gap at the top, don't snip so far. And if you're struggling to get them to join, if you just wiggle them a little bit, and on the other bit, they'll slot into place a little bit easier, or make the slit bigger. I'm going to use a bit of this other piece which I made just for time's sake. 10 minutes. Oh no. At least I've shown you a little bit of monoprinting as well. If you've learned something new there. You can get some really interesting lines and shapes. Wow. That can go on like that. Again, what's quite good about this is right now I can take something off an old one, doesn't really matter, unslot them very easily, and you can rebuild them in different ways. So the angles obviously, oh actually maybe angles would be quite clever against those now. I've got a lot going on, it could work. Quite like that. I'm going to put, I've for some reason got a slot here already, so I'm going to put it in there. Oh no, that slot's too big. I somehow managed to cut another bit at the same time. That other piece didn't last very long, did it? I ended up destroying it. So what else are we all grateful for at the moment? Anybody learn anything new whilst they've been in this weird time? Sometimes I forget what's going on, which is really amazing. I think we all just need to just really make the most of what's going on. If you want to do nothing, that's also fine. I'm quite enjoying this one. Can you see what I've got? What do you reckon? I think the bigger ones work well. Take some more off my other sculpture, just time-wise. I haven't got enough time to make the patterns and show you. Just looking at the shapes and what is needed in different places really helps. Don't ask me how I know what's needed. I just react and adapt. Doesn't work, doesn't matter. Change it. And this is with something like this, you can just take it off. I'm going to put that there. That. Give it a wiggle. Slot that in. And that works quite well. I'm going to have a few more small bits, I think, at the moment, because I do find to finish them off, the variation in different sizes does help. So thinking about your shapes that you're creating. This one looks like a tadpole. No, that one could work on there. Snip. Snip. Sometimes they just don't work. Sometimes they do. Yeah, that works. The problem is about reusing them is this one has so many slits in. It wouldn't work. So reuse all those, that's crazy. What about this? I think I'm going to draw. On one of these, from my drawing which didn't work last time, I'm going to cut out a shape. Like a wavy shape. Oh, doesn't seem to end. There you go. So we've got a wavy shape on that side. I'm going to do again how I did my monoprint earlier, just to recap if any of you weren't here. Where's my oil pastels? Here. Right, just getting an oil pastel, rubbing it on a surface. If any of you have ever done printmaking, it's just you put your ink down normally, but obviously haven't got the correct ink for that. So adapt. Put that down on top. And because I've already got a pattern, I'm going to use something which wouldn't make a mark. You can't see what I'm doing, can you? So oil pastel, paper with no pattern, but this side has got a pattern and I don't want to interrupt that pattern. So I'm going to put this down on top. I'm going to use something like a paintbrush and I'm going to squiggle on top so that it's not affecting the marks already on the paper. And we've got some new marks. So I'm going to put that one there. Like that. Thinking about the angles, that's another important thing. Because if everything's, it won't look as good, unless that's what you're going for. And like I keep on saying really, it doesn't matter. Adapt and change it all, I think, is the main purpose of this session. I think some plain black pieces might work as well. Right, we've got 5 more minutes to go. Is there anybody who's struggling with anything or would like a hand thinking of some ideas of different techniques, or to recap anything at all? We'll get a little splodge. Good. Great. Things are working. Just want to let you know that if anybody wants any more ideas and things, that I have got information on my website with different ideas to use for helping use mindfulness techniques within drawing and making. I've really enjoyed today's session. So this one hasn't got anything on the back. I'm going to have to do something quite dry because otherwise it won't dry before I can put it on. I'm going to just scribble that one. Too many dots on that side. Is it possible to connect the pieces on air? I mean, not on the base. It is not possible to share pictures. Is it possible to connect two pieces on air? I mean, not on the base. Air? You can't attach something to air. I'm confused, sorry, I don't understand what you mean. Possible to connect two pieces on air? I mean, not on the base. Oh, so if you were to connect this one to this one, or this one to this one, so yeah. I haven't really got anywhere for it to work on this. I'll take this one off and show you how you could do that. Quickly. That can make it more stable. Yeah, sorry, I had done that on an old one. Which I just took apart to use the pieces. So I'm just going to show you quickly a way of doing that. So you might need a longer piece. Right, so I'm not going to decorate the other side just so you can see what I'm doing. So try and think about the space which is in between two different things. I've got a lot going on in the background here so you can't see. If I hold that. Hold this up and you might be able to see. I can't see now. But think about the distance between that shape and that shape and make a shape which will reach. Yeah? So then when doing that, you need to make a slit one end and a slit at the other end. So it can be helpful. The more you do it, the easier it gets. To just mark it with a pencil where the slits might be. So I'm going to put the slit there, slit there. And then I'm going to join this one here. You see? Obviously I didn't have time to decorate that piece, but yes, you can, and it will make it more stable if you do that. Good question. So I've just snipped both ends, so you can have multiple things attached to things. You can do what you want. If it works, it works. Add this one back on. Does that help? It's a lot easier to fill a shape in when it's not cut out than it is to fill a shape in when it is cut out. I think that makes sense. Right, I think I'm going to leave it there. See what we made? What do you think? I think that's not bad for an hour. Start from scratch. And look, that is stable. It's not going anywhere. Start with big pieces and then work your way up to small ones. Obviously I haven't decorated that one, but I think we've got something good. Right, been lovely speaking to you all, and please have a nice day. If you have any questions, just comment down below and I'll get back to you. I'll put a link down to my website and my Instagram, so feel free to message me personally if you need any help. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day. Now I need to figure out how to stop it.